Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio. And as you may know, the last actual video that we did, we were going over the Illuminati card game through all of this data that I have found. And hopefully it can help us put some pieces together. Maybe some pieces that got lost in time that didn't make sense before. Stuff that already happened that is going along with this, and I'm still in the process of trying to get the game. I'm really hoping that I can get it so I can actually sit down and play it to see how that's going to go. But also the car problems and stuff, I can't get a new battery until tomorrow, which is unfortunate because I have to go to work in the morning. So if I come out tomorrow and the car won't start, I've actually had it running for the past 4 hours. I'm like scared to turn it off because as soon as I turn it off, I know it's not going to turn back on. But before I go to bed, I'm going to have to turn it off, of course. I'm really hoping that tomorrow everything's all good. I just come out, start it up, go to work just like every other day. But regardless, if I have to get a ride again, it'll be all good because then after work I can go and get a battery, get that changed up, and we'll be good to go. I thought about skipping the part 2 for today and going to do like a different kind of video, but I'll probably do that tomorrow, and it'll be a video on some more positive things, like some more freedom promoting things instead of New World Order exposing things, if you catch my drift on that. Because I was reading my bio for my channel when I first made it, and the first thing on this channel is to promote freedom, of course. And the second thing is to expose the New World Order. But it's okay because we'll do the part 2 today, and we'll do the freedom promoting tomorrow, actually. We'll go through the Bill of Rights again. We'll go through some quotes from our founders and people just throughout history on freedom, people that love freedom, that give their life for it. But without further ado, we will now go into part 2 of the Illuminati card game. And I actually found more parts. I found the part 5. I originally said I would have to do it in 4 parts. But probably had to do it in 5 parts. And like I said before, the things that I start on this channel are projects to be finished over time. We still have to read The Secret Destiny. I'm going to pick that up on a day where I don't have any idea of what to do. I'll say, you know what, we'll go on here and we'll read some Secret Destiny. People want to listen, cool, because that is very important, because it's the secret destiny of our country. And we still have to read the Constitution and some other things. We did, however, finish the UN Declaration of Human Rights, which was good because that was very important in all the legal terminology that they use. So I really hope you guys understand a little bit more when they say certain things and what they actually mean. But let's get into this one. And I found a more simplified version, so I wouldn't have to increase the quality, because for some reason if I increase the quality of the video to 1080, it cuts my time allotted in my space by 2/3. Because I had like 5 hours that I freed up, and then I didn't have it figured out for the longest time. I switched to like 1080p and it said I had like 30 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, where did I get all this? What's taking up so much storage? And then after about 15 minutes, I was like, wait a minute. And I switched it back down to 480, and it gave me my 5 hours back. So I was like, well, that's kind of a little problem here. But it's okay because I found this, and this is going to be easy for you guys to read if I upload it in 480. If I had to, I would upload it in 1080, of course. Okay, so this card, let me see if I can zoom in on it. This card is called the Internet Worm. And the bottom of this playing card reads, all the data is lost. lost. Pick one of your rivals to suffer your wrath. Play this card at any time. It requires an action by your Illuminati or by computer groups with a total power of 3 or more. Can you imagine? Computer viruses were planned by the Illuminati, most probably to agitate computer owners who have quite fallen in love with the internet to accept new government controls. Already, governments have either set in motion new rules for operating on the internet or have proposed such regulations. Since the internet is one of the last truly free mediums of global communication left, government is quite interested in gaining control. What better way to gain such regulatory control than to use the classic dialectic struggle technique? Controlled conflict brings about controlled change. This process is sometimes also referred to as create the problem, propose the Illuminati solution. In 2021, I would say that the government has complete control over the internet because people get taken out just like that. That was me snapping my fingers. Oh, it's so crazy. Before, I remember a time on YouTube, you could upload anything you want. You could say anything you want and nobody would say anything. But then, a little thing called, before this, but this was the main thing, net neutrality. Everybody thought it was such a good idea. Let's give government control of the internet, guys. It'll be such a good idea. Not. See how that worked out. So, moving on. If the Illuminati is the driving force behind computer viruses, how many viruses have been let loose upon the public? You will be surprised. News brief, Viruses, Worms, What's in a Name? By Michelle Delio, Wire News, September 2003. Ever since Britain, we don't even have to read about this. We all know about computer viruses. This is just an example. We'll save some time. We already know about all the computer viruses. This was written a while ago, so a lot of things didn't happen yet. But now we can go back and we can ascertain from this and a lot of things that happened recently within the past couple of years, you will see come true. I don't even know how to word this right now. A lot of things in here that did not come true yet have come true and are still coming true every single day. Even though the masses of people believe that none of this is true and we're all just crazy, crackpot, conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat, lunatics who all need to go die or whatever they say. But this card we've seen recently, a lot actually, and it's called Enough is Enough. A lot of people say the guy looks like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump did say enough is enough a lot, and he's not the only one though. A lot of people say that, but we've seen that card more recently in other videos, and other people have talked about it in reference to Donald Trump. But the bottom of this playing card reads, at any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you. Have a nice day. You can remember only two, the Beltway sniper attacks in October 2002 carried out by snipers, or sniper fall guys that clearly were under Illuminati mind control. Read News 1725, we have caught the sniper like a duck on a noose. For a 22-day period, October 2nd through 24th, in 2002, snipers terrorized people in the Beltway area, killing them just as this card says. They dropped victims at any time and any place. For these 22 days, the sniper shot 13 times, killing 10 people. Throughout this sorry episode, we constantly pointed out the various satanic symbols in the pattern of the sniping was placed on the ground. Let us review these articles. My door just slammed because it's very windy, and now my wife is going to come out and she's going to close the door. Hi, honey. Yep, she sure did, because you can hear it from inside the house, and our room is like right there as soon as you walk in the door. So anyway, original Maryland shooting shown to be not geographically random, occurring on a satanic holiday devoted to the destruction of the old order. Shooting pattern forms a broken cross. Satanic calling card left at the scene. One of those shootings, shooter left a death tarot card at the scene inscribed with, quote, I am God, end quote, message. Shot number 11 on October 11th is a line that forms a satanic pentagram on the ground. Surprising and unexpected occult symbolism uncovered by studying the Beltway sniper shooting pattern. Update on the Beltway sniper and the occult shooting pattern. New Age Holistic Advisor saw a broken cross in shooting pattern 2 days after the first shots were fired. Says satanic ritual is planned. We have caught the sniper like a duck in the noose. Analysis of this typical Illuminist mind control trigger. And we all know about the other MKUltra victims, like Adam Lanza during the 2012 Sandy Hook shootings. Obviously, he was MKUltra. We had the Aurora Theater shooter was under MKUltra. He was on psychotropic drugs. Visits from the FBI, the whole 9 yards. And they serve multiple purposes. And the main purpose is to, well, this stuff, they leave their signature so people in the know can know about it because they have to tell you beforehand so they don't feel bad, and it gives them more power, they believe. Also, the LA shootings and at the base of the, what's it called? The one in the Mandalay Bay, and it was at the base of the Luxor was closed, which is a pyramid. It's a black pyramid, so they're just leaving their signature, so when we pick up on it, then they can make fun of us and still get their point across that they did it, so they don't feel bad, because they'll just think, well, most people will just think nothing, but they won't feel bad because they told you about it even though you didn't pick up on it. It's incredibly multifaceted, and it's really hard to keep up sometimes. Now, take a good look at this sniper card. This picture taken in its entirety is screaming Illuminati mind control. First, note the face of the sniper. He is screaming as if in terror, and his eyes are not only protruding, they exude evil. The face seems to be falling apart to the point where the straight background line separating the two black triangles serving as the backdrop to the face seems to pass behind the face. This is a perfect picture to accompany the description of how mind control slave is activated by his handler. Listen. To create a trained assassin, the alters, mind control slaves, commonly called deltas, were desensitized toward pain and death. Hypnosis was also used. The potential victims were devalued. Satanic rituals were also involved in the creation of the deltas. Deltas will be trained in hand-to-hand combat and know the very vulnerable places to instantly kill people. Training included a great deal of expert weapons training. And that was from the Illuminati formula to create an indestructible mind control slave. Wheeler, page 201. Yes, they have books like that people just don't ever know about. At this point, we are told exactly what we should expect from the training of an Illuminati assassin. He is desensitized, put through brutal satanic rituals, taught hand-to-hand combat, and given a great deal of expert weapons training. But now focus on the falling apart face. Is it falling apart or melting in this depiction? Listen to Wheeler explain. When the programmer wants to use these delta alters, he will call them up from their genie bottle, or wherever the signal is hidden deep within the mind. The delta will be commanded to melt. When they have melted into the nothing state, then the programmer gives an exact script of everything the delta alter is to do, just like you would program a computer, step by step. These people have spent an incredible amount of time studying the human mind, not for good purposes, like, hey, what can we put our mind to? What can the human mind accomplish? Well, in their case, yeah, but also, how can we exploit the human mind? How can we use small numbers of people to control the masses of people? Psychological warfare, you name it. We see it every single day. We're seeing it right now, actually, with this, what do you want to call it? We'll just call it Agenda 21, because that's what it is. The depiction on this card is of a mind control victim, as he is being activated to be an assassin. Notice the rich brocade of pattern behind the face. This type of pattern speaks of the rich tapestry of detailed information a handler puts into the mind of the assassin, giving him all the details of his many multiple personalities. Also note the 12 colored triangles grouped into colored pairs facing each other. Color coding is extremely important to the handler as he mentally programs the assassin. Once again, we are shocked not only see the sniper's card in this Illuminati New World Order card deck, but to see that the creator of this game correctly understands that the Illuminist sniper will be mind-controlled is shocking indeed. Now you should also know who is behind the latest sniper shooting spree in West Virginia. On another note, I believe, and you don't have to believe this is just my belief. You can look it up if you want to, and you can read about it, because I don't ever expect anybody to take what I say at face value, because you should never do that. I personally believe that Steve Jackson, the inventor of this game, was and probably still is, in fact, in the club. A lower level person, of course, but he understands enough to where he could predict all these things without being murdered. So, in the club. Okay, now we got this card here. Suicide Squad, and you got military guys there holding a grenade. This guy's firing a machine gun. They look like total zombies. No idea what that's about. But the bottom of this card reads, can be used to destroy any resource belonging to a rival. May be used at any time except during a prolonged attack. Target is destroyed. Suicide Squad survives and may be used again. Target and Suicide Squad are both destroyed. Suicide Squad fails and a destroyed target survives. Israel, and only Israel, has been facing terror attacks for 20 long solid years now. We reported that Russian KGB controlled Arafat while the American CIA controlled Israel. Therefore, the Illuminati controlled both sides. They always do. Which they must do in a dialectic struggle situation. Each suicide kills the Palestinian perpetrator. Innocent Israeli civilians, some of them tiny babies. There's that, but there's also the... remember when Israel bombed that school in Gaza? And they killed like 23 children or something like that? And people here were just like, oh, well, they probably deserved it because Palestinians are terrorists. If anybody ever makes an excuse like that in front of you, slap them in the face. Anyone that ever excuses the murder of children, no matter by who, needs slapped in the face. Just, it's unreal. Unreal. Each suicide roils the country and the world and acts like a jackhammer against a cement walkway. Steadily, the walkway of the old order is broken up so that the new order may be instituted. To date, Arafat has been carrying out terror attacks against Israeli targets for 33 years. His suicide bombers have been striking for 22 years. He has just completed a 33-month intifada against Israel. All these numbers of Illuminist sacred numbers. All these numbers point to the Illuminati as the origin of this terror campaign, not Arafat nor any other Palestinian terrorist leader. That's true for any event. You read any article, actually, and you can pretty much gather the numerology from that if you're familiar with gematria. And you can add up sixes, and you get 666, where you'll get 13, 33, like 33rd degree Mason, and usually 13, which is the 13 bloodlines that control the world. And then you get 666, which is obviously Mark of the Beast, which is who these people serve. These people serve Lucifer, and there's no other way about it. We went through Albert Pike's quotes in Manly P. Hall, talking about how Lucifer is the god of Freemasonry. Note that the Suicide Squad is not expected to survive the majority of the time. Over the past 20 years, I have seen such unbelievable outrages reported, such as the head of a little girl rolling out of a bummed Sbarro pizza parlor and a heart lying on a sidewalk still beating. This is the picture of a rotten spiritual fruit of the dialectic struggle process, and yet each outrage is met with the same tired mantra. Washington implores Israel to show restraint. Israel Prime Minister or one of his officials announces that they are not going to allow the peace process to be derailed. Arafat condemns the suicide attack, saying that they work against the best interests of the Palestinian people. This is actually still going on, except different names for different groups. We had ISIS for a while. We had, what was the other one? Not Al-Qaeda. Oh, I forget. But it doesn't matter. They all work for the same, they're all hired by the same people. They're mercenaries is what they are. It doesn't matter who it's for. They pay them to go and do these things. And usually they pay them very handsomely. A lot of times they'll end up dead, but they don't know that in the moment. Yet nothing changes as the clock ticks toward the next suicide bombing. The ultimate end of this dialectic struggle is the all-out Third World War that will fulfill Arafat's vision, and Steve Jackson knew all about this part of the plan when he created the INWO. This one, nuclear accident. Remember Fukushima? That's still going on. Yeah, and that was years ago now. Years ago. The bottom of this playing card reads disaster. This is an instant attack to destroy any place. Its power is 14 against a huge place, 18 against any other place. Nuclear power companies lose their action token when this card is played on any place. The world has already had 2 nuclear power plant accidents, have we not? Well, 3, so let's read this updated. The world has already had 3 nuclear power plant accidents, have we not? At Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, and Fukushima. Let us review the suspicious timing and occasion of the incident at 3 Mile Island. FEMA, now operating under Homeland Security, has the authority to order mass evacuation of residents in the perimeter of a nuclear power plant. It is interesting coincidence that the 3 Mile Island incident occurred just one day after FEMA became operational. FEMA arrived on the scene of the nuclear power accident and fostered an atmosphere of panic, lobbied for mass evacuations that would have given FEMA authority over all other federal, state, and local governmental bodies. There is some evidence that 3 Mile Island was an act of sabotage. The Unseen Hand by Ralph Emerson, page 411. Now, I don't know, a lot of you probably know because a lot of you have watched the same people that I have watched and read a lot of the same things that I have read, but FEMA has been in control of the government now, federal, state, and local, because there's been a disaster declaration in all 50 states for the first time in history since last March 13th. Oh my gosh, we're coming up on a year. We're coming up on a year that this disaster declaration has been declared. Can you guys believe that? We've already let this go on for so long, and we're just still doing whatever we've been doing. At this point, I have a question. At the time Steve Jackson was creating this Illuminati card game, the nuclear power plant accidents at both Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island had occurred. Therefore, since Jackson included a nuclear accident in this card game, does that mean we have planned nuclear power accident or terrorist attack yet in our future? Yes, and he was this person that decoded this and wrote it down was correct. Fukushima did happen in Japan, but it doesn't matter what country it happens in. Ooh, Pedro V. If you guys don't watch him, please watch him. I've been watching him for years, and he has not faltered. He has not gone with the QAnon people. He's always been on it. He does a lot of symbolism stuff. That's Paydrov. But yeah, it doesn't matter what country it happens in, because ultimately we are going to be under one control structure. And I actually found a PDF for, well, maybe I have it actually. No, that's not it. Yeah, right there. We'll go back. We'll do this like another time, but it's the approach to world government through the technique of World Constitutional Convention American experience. I plan on going through this, but not in this video. I just wanted to show you guys that just real quick. We'll go back to our this. But yeah, I do have that planned in the future, and it's a good one. Scary, but good. Okay, the bottom of this playing card reads, their secret mind-altering messages are hidden everywhere. The number of media groups you control is added to the power and global power of the subliminals. And it's called subliminals, and we all know that. And you got the devil's tail straw there. You got sex written on the ice cream. Bet you didn't even see that when you first looked at it. You got to look at it twice. But yep, sex is written right there, just like everything else. There's your little devil's tail thing going on. Sex is also written in the ice, but you might not be able to see it. But they've been corrupting the youth with sex forever. And the reason for that is that when the youth is occupied, that's actually one of the communist, it's in the Communist Manifesto, to control the youth with sex, because then they will concentrate on nothing else. Nothing else will matter. And we were all teenagers at one time that fell for this before we became awoke to things in the world. So we all know this. Male or female, it does not matter. Does not matter. But over the years, we've seen, even in movies, people have broken it down. All the subliminals, they're everywhere. But if you talk to one of these normies out here, they'll tell you that there's no subliminals and that's only entertainment. And they do that because they care. Like, have you ever heard of the bread and circus? I don't even know what to say to these people anymore. Anyway, subliminals in all avenues of mass media, TV, movies, print, and advertising is so effective that the public has been repeatedly conditioned to believe that subliminals either do not exist or they are ineffective and no longer used. However, in Seminar 1, America's Leadership of the New World Order, we demonstrate that subliminals do exist and are very effective. We show several colored examples of subliminals in printed advertising so you can see for yourself. Truly, once you know what to look for, you will never look at printed advertisements the same way again. That's true. I can't even watch a movie and enjoy it anymore. And I tell my wife all the time, because she's like, oh, let's watch this movie. And then we'll be sitting there watching the movie and stuff and eating popcorn or whatever. And then I'll be like, oh, did you see that all-seeing eye? Oh, did you see how this is there? And, oh, you see that 666 over there in the clouds? And then she'll be like, can you not just enjoy a movie? I'll be like, I'm sorry. You knew what you were signing up for. And she's like, I know. And she's pretty much the same way as me. Like, she'll show me stuff and be like, oh, look what these bastards are doing now. And she'll show me something and I'll be like, oh my, I didn't even see that. Like, where'd you find that? And she'll be like, oh, well, I was watching this one person and they directed me to this. And they said something about it, but I went back to it and looked and I went through it. And I'm like, man, you surprise me every single day. I like to think that I rubbed off on her, but the truth is she rubbed off on me. When we first got together, I showed her Loose Change 9/11 truth video just to see if she would be able to put up with me for a long period of time. 10 years later, it's what we do. And my wife is a patriot. A real one. And she will mess up anybody trying to come and take our freedom. Probably before I will, because I'll probably just be like trying to get out of bed all cranky and she'll just be jumping up and going at them. Okay, the bottom of this playing card reads, increase the power of all violent government groups by 3, increase power of all criminal groups by 1. For some reason, the card's not loading, so I can't show you the card. Steve Jackson is quietly communicating, very important factor. Gun control has historically made it much easier for a government to become more violent in the manner in which it treats its citizens. In fact, the first action a new dictatorship takes is to seize all guns from the people. Lenin and Hitler both seized individual weapons under the same false premise, that they were making their citizens more safe. The reality was that they made their citizens more susceptible to severe dictatorship. New Age author Bill Cooper has some very pertinent things to say on this issue. And this is from Behold a Pale Horse. The government encouraged the manufacture and importation of military firearms for criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity, which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarm themselves by passing laws against firearms, using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion. The CIA inculcated the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame the anti-gun lobby. The middle class is begging the government to do away with the Second Amendment. This book was written in 1991. It was before Columbine and before all of that, so he knew it was all coming, which ultimately led to his death. If you have not researched Bill Cooper, please do yourself a favor and please, he is the only person who was real at doing this at the time. Author's note. I have found that these events have indeed happened all over the country. In every instance that I have investigated, the incident at the women's school in Canada, shopping center incident in Canada, the Stockton, California massacre, and the murder of Rabbi Meir Kani, the shooters were all ex-mental patients or were current mental patients who were all on the drug Prozac. This drug, when taken in certain doses, increases the serotonin level in the patient, causing extreme violence. That's a fact. I've known people on Prozac, and they always used to get in fights in school more than anybody else. Couple that with a post-hypnotic suggestion or control through an electronic brain implant or microwave or ELF intrusion, and you get mass murder, ending in every case with the suicide of the perpetrator. And it's not beyond a pale horse, it's behold a pale horse. But even after all this, even today, every single time, the shooter ends up taking their own life. Because, well, we know about MK Ultra, we know about Orion, we know about MK Naomi, we know about all of that. And yes, it is intended to, they try very, very hard to take people's guns away because this is the last place on earth. Other countries, their citizens have guns, I guess you could say, but it's not like we have here. There are over, well, and I'm counting undocumented as well, not just ones that they know about, there are over 500 million firearms and trillions of rounds of ammunition in the hands of the American people. That is a beautiful thing to me. That is great. That is so great. Because nobody would ever try to march against 300 plus million armed citizens. That's why they have to revert to doing it this way, with the subversion and the back and forth and the subliminals and the cop shows and the shooters, whatever else they have out there. This playing card, post office, and it shows some kind of official looking guy with a pistol and something's going on there. The bottom of this playing card reads, of course they read the mail. During your turn, you may draw any two group cards randomly from the hand of a rival. When our nation was agonizing over the terrible spate of post office shootings, who would have thought the Illuminati had instigated them in order to further destabilize our culture as to bring on their new world order? All these upsetting events have a cumulative effect far beyond their individual force. They make many people feel bad about their lives and about our civilization, as people question, what is wrong with our society that such murderous rampages are occurring? When enough of these upsetting events occur, the Illuminati will have enough people questioning our current society that they will embrace the coming Superman Antichrist as he proposes a brand new society based on brand new values. You mean like Great Reset, Agenda 21? Here we are, guys. These shootings, plus school shootings, greatly stirred the anti-gun lobby. One such lobby issued a report in which they examined the shootings from 1963 to 2001 and discovered that firearms, in a great majority of the cases, were purchased legally. Where'd they get their guns? An analysis of the firearms used in high-profile shootings, 1963 to 2001 Violence Policy Center. The unavoidable implication is that gun laws needed to be changed so that such mass murders could not be committed. From August 86 to August 89, there would be 355 attacks reported. Undoubtedly many went unreported by workers on supervisors and 183 by bosses on workers. Few of these would ever become public knowledge. Mass murder and the Postal Purges. While this card reads post office, it should just as easily read public mass shooting. And the New Age author Bill Cooper had much to say about the thorough planning the Illuminati has undertaken concerning using mentally ill men on Prozac, Ritalin, to program them to carry out public shootings. Thus, even before this tragedy in Maryland, gun control advocates were turning to more powerful images that provoke stronger emotional responses. Now these groups will have even more ammunition than ever before. I will be very interested to see if these men kill themselves before they are captured, a common program tactic of mind control victims. Then I will be interested to see if the shooters were inmates at any government mental institution. Have they taken Ritalin or any such drug in the recent past? Bill Cooper mentions two drugs, Ritalin and Prozac. Listen now to what he has to say about Prozac. Quote, using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion, the CIA inculcated the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame the anti-gun lobby. This plan is well underway and so far working perfectly. The middle class is begging the government to do away with the Second Amendment. And they actually got it right this time. Behold a pale horse. It's a good book. You should order it and read it. But then Bill Cooper drops the bomb on this subject of school shootings. We already read this up there. That he was just trying to... This New Age author wrote his book, Behold a Pale Horse, because he realized the terrible nature of the New World Order that he had been working so hard to bring about all the time he was in naval intelligence. His information is from the inside and checks out with other sources. When he says school shootings are staged by the government driving the world into the New World Order, believe him. He's right. And he was right. And he did work in the Office of Naval Intelligence. And he didn't start exposing this stuff because he was reared in a military family. He was gung-ho, like just the regular old military, how people are brought up. And when he was in the Office of Naval Intelligence, he's seen documents that this was becoming a thing in the destruction of the United States. And that's when he left on an honorable discharge, and he never looked back, and he exposed it every single day on his radio show, newspaper, speaking, like he spoke around the country, gave his life because he was the ultimate patriot. And November 5th, 2001 is when they finally went after him after he predicted 9/11 on June 28th, 2001. I'll actually, if I get done with this in time, I will upload the Bill Cooper June 28th, 2001 prediction of 9/11. He even says who they'll blame it on, what it'll be, all of it. And it happened. And they took him out in his own front yard, let him lay there for 15 hours, and then had a huge celebration afterwards. It's a whole mess. The bottom of this playing card reads, a shocking news story distracts all media, and by the time it runs its course, the public has forgotten all about, what was that issue anyway? And it's just like Tweezer Slang's Rise to 23, World Illuminator. Heh. Notice the headline of this World Illuminator newspaper, Tweezer Slang's Rise to 23. The picture to the lower right is of a grandmother figure, coyly looking at her face from a round mirror she is holding. Subtitle reads, Nobel Laureate sought for questioning. In the past 2 decades, America has endured so many instances of multiple murder, it is terribly discouraging to say the least. But let us review just some of the instances of mass murder which we have endured just recently. All stories taken from the Washington Post. Fired worker kills 6 in Illinois. We see this every day even now. These are just examples of shootings and killings and whatnot. And they still go on every single day because dialectic strategy, Hegelian dialectic, they keep repeating it over and over and over again until their ultimate goal is achieved. And we just keep falling for it because nobody's figured it out yet. And they just think that all these things are random. And people say, oh, the news just reports on it. They're not the bad guy. But they only report on certain things, though. Like if I go out and do some terrible things, but I only report on the good things that I do, you're going to see me as good and great. When behind closed doors, I'm doing terrible things. That's literally how it works. But I can go on and on and on, but you get the point. In the past 2-3 decades, America has been awash in mass murder, but now the Illuminati has planned it in order to weaken the old order so they could bring in the new world order. This card here. Secular humanists. There's a little devil horns right there, the shadow of this guy. The bottom of this playing card reads, while you control this group, all straight or conservative groups will be so distracted that any attacks they make against other groups will be at -3 power. Certainly, secular humanism has been greatly instrumental in all of Western society currently rejecting Jesus Christ, the Bible, and Judeo-Christian values. By far, the most serious impact has been the field of public education. How true is that paragraph even now in 2021? They do nothing but demonize our Lord and people like us. That's what they're for. That's why the entire thing with like Catholic priests and stuff, with being pedophiles and whatnot was going on. Now, whenever you say to any random person that knows nothing about this, hey, what's the first thing you think of when you think of a priest? Oh, that was the intention. But the truth is, those were never Catholic priests. They were always Luciferians, always, whether they knew it or not. Excuse me. C.F. Potter and Thomas Dewey led the way in the period between World Wars I and II to completely rewrite educational curricula, gradually at first so that all biblical values are overthrown. In Seminar 1, America's Leadership of the New World Order, we demonstrate how this subtle attack on our value system was carried out. The result is that now Christian parents must get their children out of public schools, for they are being conditioned to become good citizens of the global system of Antichrist. Yeah, they're teaching your kids to be a global citizen. 100%. It was thus Dewey who began fashioning a new materialist religion in which humanity was venerated instead of God. Basically the religion of secular humanism. And this is what has become of the official religion of the United States, for it is the only religion permitted in its public schools and totally supported by government funds. NEA, Trojan Horse in American Education. Samuel Blumenthal. Blumenthal then continues, but the undermining of Judeo-Christian tradition was well underway when in 1933, John Dewey and 33 other liberal humanists drew up and signed that extraordinary document known as the Humanist Manifesto, reflected all the influences of science, evolution, and the new psychology, which were reshaping American education. It called for the abandonment of traditional religion, replacing it with a new secular religion better able to accommodate the new moral relativism in a man-centered, godless world. That's happening off the charts at this point in time. Off the charts. It is unreal how this has been effective. And all of these are going to, don't forget, all of these will be morphed. You have New Age humanism, You have the New Age movement. You have Mormonism, because Joseph Smith, the creator of the Mormon Church, was a 33-degree Freemason. Mormonism is a creation of Freemasonry and a humanist religion. These will all be morphed into the one world religion, which will be Luciferian doctrine. All of this stuff, you can trace it back to Luciferianism. If we started at the Humanist Manifesto, went back and like its creators, studied their life, went back, kept going back, somewhere along the line, probably very recent, you will find somebody in Masonry if the people that wrote this weren't Masons themselves. And where you find Masonry, you find Lucifer. As Christian churches fell under the spell of this Humanist Manifesto, they still do. If you go to church, if your church is not preaching end times eschatology right now, your church is not legit. I'm sorry to say it. It's unfortunate, but we all know where we are in the end of times. Mainline denominations began to move away from the fundamentals of the Christian faith until we've reached the point today where the apostasy of the church is so deep, wide, and high that the Antichrist can now arise. Just as the Illuminati planned, secular humanism paved the way. But look carefully at the picture Steve Jackson drew. As you look behind the two young men, you will see the shadow of a clown gesture. Or is it the devil? You be the judge. We looked at that. Either symbol would be most appropriate for an entire people who have rejected the one true God in order to embrace a false God. Now remember, Lucifer is the false light. He will come bringing great things and performing miracles, as said in the scripture. Ooh, Days is live right now. Okay, this card. State lotteries. Oh, there you go. Rob the people blind. I got into that for a while and I lost a ton of money. Don't even know why I was doing it. And I was awake at the time. The bottom of this playing card reads, "It's a tax on stupidity and the money rolls in." At this point, you must protest. State lotteries are the result of Illuminati planning to so undermine a society that it will fall. That is exactly correct. Look at some of the evils of state lottery. It distorts the normal flow of money within an economy, drawing huge sums of money away from buying goods and services, concentrating that money into the hands of state governments, whose spending has always further aggravated the economy. Economically, it's always far better to keep the money in the hands of the many consumers, whose spending at the bottom of the economy will stimulate the economy much better than top-heavy government spending. Every time. Every time. Grassroots spending or anything, any movement or anything like that. Grassroots is always the best. From the bottom up. Like, how do trees grow? How does the grass grow? Why do you think they call it grassroots? Because it's the natural way of things. And it's the way that humans are in general. That's why Walmarts and big stores like that are terrible. Because you go and you spend all your money there, and your money doesn't stay at your local Walmart. They don't put it in a safe and put it back into the community. No, they ship it out to corporate. They put it into the pockets of their investors and the people that own it. And they rob your city blind. That's why you go to, actually in the next town over from me, they put a Walmart there, and the mall is no longer a thing. It's pretty much gone. There's like one Auntie Anne's pretzel in there. That's it. Literally one pretzel, not even one pretzel store. I'm just joking. Shouldn't joke about terrible things like that, but gotta stay sane somehow. The state lottery encourages people who can at least afford to gamble with their money. Once again, money is taken out of the normal channels of consumer spending. Listen, those living in the most impoverished areas of the state, New York, spent 8 times more of their income on lottery tickets than did on living in the most affluent sections. It's always in the poor neighborhoods. That's why they always put the casinos in the poor neighborhoods. Further, many retailers have discovered that people are spending their money on lottery tickets rather than for food, general merchandise. Many children are going hungry at night because the parents have spent too much money on lottery tickets. Thus, state lotteries hurt retail sales, long seen as the backbone of our economy. State lottery encourages a get-rich-quick mentality, encouraging people to keep trying to get rich quick instead of gradually increasing their personal wealth through hard work and excellent spending habits. Most people do not realize that the American Industrial Revolution occurred in a very large degree because the individual worker possessed the Protestant work ethic, an understanding that man does not work at his job just for his employer, but as to the Lord. This work ethic was so widespread that even men who were not saved adopted the values of the work ethic. Thus, employers could count on workers who were honest and would give them a good solid day's work for every day's pay. That's 100% true. Just like everything else. The work ethic is rooted in Christianity, not Roman Catholicism, nor in any other religion. This reality is one of the very large reasons the American experiment has proven to be virtually impossible to replicate in other nations of the world. However, America is losing this work ethic, and our economic doom is certain. State lotteries discourage people from working hard, working long, and giving a good day's labor for a day's pay. Let me tell you something about that. What part in the Bible does it say idle hands? Idle hands are of the devil? Something like that. I'll have to look it up and so I can get it right, but if anybody knows it and you comment, please correct me. But it's like idle hands are the work of the devil or something like that. And, sloth is a sin, if I'm not mistaken. Which we're not meant to be just lazy and not producing for ourselves. The human body is not meant for that. Why do you think these people get debilitating, bodily diseases and physical ailments at such a young age? And then you see people that, I know this guy's name's Frank. He's about to be 70. And he still goes and works at a sheet metal factory. And he is so in shape. And all he does is he goes to work, he eats, and he smokes a lot of weed. And he is in the best shape I've ever seen anybody. I told him the one time, I said, dude, he used to be my neighbor before we moved. I said, you're in better shape than half of the 20-year-olds I know. You're almost in as good a shape as me, and I'm 27. But we pretty much know how the lottery works, so for the sake of time, I'm going to skip over this part. But we'll read this last sentence. If you want to undermine the old order so that it can be replaced with the new world order, state lottery is a good wrecking tool to have at your disposal. Of course. Okay. Ditto heads. This is a good one. The bottom of the ditto head playing card reads, this group can only be controlled by a personality. This card always has the same alignments as his personality, plus fanatic. If the personality is already fanatic, the fanaticism of the ditto heads is considered to be the same alignment for all purposes. Many people will truly be shocked to hear that a Rush Limbaugh ditto head card is part of this Illuminati deck. Very good reason. Rush Limbaugh is a very sophisticated part of the New World Order planned to overthrow the Old World Order. Rush Limbaugh, mega dittos to the master communicator. I explained my personal trip through Rush country from the beginning of the 90s to the time in 96 when I fully understood reality. At first, I was really taken in by his personality, his grasp of the difficult issues facing America, his apparent conservatism, and his refreshing humor. I really felt like he was speaking my language, giving verbal expression to my political feelings. Rush Limbaugh had become a messianic type leader of the American conservatives. It is incredible that one man could so coalesce such large group into one meaningful force. Rush is their leader, and he has become their icon. I had never ever heard anyone so brilliantly and so consistently articulate the issues in which I had always felt so strongly. Rush also seemingly championed Christian causes. But what does the Ditto Head card say about the personality who controls the fanatics under his spell? Listen again. This group can only be controlled. As you listen to the people calling in, you could realize they are being controlled by the personality of Rush Limbaugh. And the guy and guys, it's not just Rush Limbaugh. He's passed now, but it's Sean Hannity, Joe Rogan, Alex Jones. Who else is on? Glenn Beck. All of these people. Somehow they make it into the mainstream, all of them. Whether it's mainstream, like Fox News, or tabloid mainstream. All of them are the exact same as this. They are controlled opposition. We know this. But this is just examples of, for the sake of time, I've already been doing this for like 56 minutes. I have to work tomorrow. But for the sake of time, we're going to go through this. Okay, we know about Rush Limbaugh and all these people. But Rush Limbaugh is not a born-again Christian. This guy's just explaining how he came to realize God was gradually changing my mind as he opened my spiritual eyes. That happens to a lot of us, actually. Here we go. Do not be deceived by Rush Limbaugh, but you can interchange that with any name. Hannity, Glenn Beck, or even people on the left side, both sides, it doesn't matter. Very clever part of the Illuminati plan, just as this card indicates. I believe his purpose was to enthusiastically grab the leadership of Americans' conservatives so that he could get NAFTA passed. First of all, so then he could act as a lightning rod to harmlessly discharge conservative anger over the liberal policies being enacted to move us into the New World Order. Illuminati knew that real conservatives were going to become very angry when they saw some of the terrible actions that liberal and conservative leaders were going to have to carry out if the globalist agenda were to ever go forward. Conservative anger is a mighty force and can destroy a movement, a plan, if it hits its target squarely. It's problem, reaction, solution every time. Small scale, large scale, these people, doesn't matter. We already know. My brother messaging me about trying to get my car fixed, and he's a manager down at the car shop. Gordo Remora. This guy looks like something. Key spiritual issue with Rush Limbaugh is his unrelenting attack on any hint of conspiracy. And takes us to the Gordo Remora card of this Illuminist deck. The bottom of the Gordo Remora playing card reads, next up on Gordo, people who believe in conspiracy theories. Are they nuts or just too stupid to live? And yes, all these people, Hannity, Rush, all of it, every time someone brings up anything about the New World Order, they laugh, they call you crazy, they kick you off their show, whatever. And the truth is, these people are betraying their country, and there's a very, very special spot in hell for them, even though that's not what we want for anybody. But the Bible speaks continuously about the conspiracy between Satan and God that began with his rebellion against God in heaven, as described in Isaiah 14, verses 4 through 15. Continued from the Garden of Eden as Satan works against God through mankind, and continues until after the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ, which is Yeshua HaMashiach. When Satan is loosed for a short time, what does Satan do with his last opportunity to rebel against God? Gathers rebellious humans living at the time, one more assault on Jerusalem. Revelation 20, verse 7 to 10. This prophetic string preaching conspiracy from the beginning to end of time is so clear that people who know their Bible well are expecting a conspiracy at the end of the age and are looking for it. What's the one? I forget what it is. Talks about the kings of the earth and how they, like, how could they plan such a vain thing? Kings of the earth set themselves against God and his anointed. And, well, when they talk about us, say, let us cast our cords from them, let us cut the cords and cast them away from us, or something like that. I forget. I read a lot, so I have all kind of stuff going on. Here's the reality about the conspiracy. It is spiritually, biblically based, so few people who are not saved can see the truth. That's the main problem. People who aren't saved cannot see the truth. It is impossible. If you are looking through your physical eyes with your physical mind, you will never see the truth. But only with your spiritual eyes can you see the truth. Am I right, guys? I mean, the people on this channel, you've come here for a reason. God has led me to do this and has led people to listen to me and has led you guys to me for a reason. So I really hope that I'm doing a good job, because I really, really don't want to mess up my mission. And it is a mission. When I'm on here, I am on a mission. And that mission is to wake people up and even bring them to Christ. We have to. That's the only way we can win. How much time? Okay, I'm already an hour in, so I'm actually going to stop it here. We'll read the Supreme Court one, and then we'll stop it here. But you can see the Supreme Court card. You see the court there, and you see the all-seeing Illuminati eye above the Supreme Court, indicating that they own the Supreme Court. The bottom of the Supreme Court playing card reads, by using its action, the Supreme Court can cancel one action of any government group. Yes, this includes government groups outside the U.S. Don't ask, you don't want to know. Notice the satanic triangle with the all-seeing eye in the upper portion, overseeing the action of the Supreme Court. Jackson is telling, okay, we already talked about that. A number of key pet programs in his New Deal program was struck down by the Supreme Court during early part of the administration, as the justices proved themselves more conservative than their president. Enraged, Roosevelt threatened to get Congress to pass the constitutional amendment that would expand the numbers of justices sitting on the Supreme Court, allowing him to pack the court. Fortunately, the constitutional obstacles to getting such an amendment passed proved too insurmountable, so Roosevelt abandoned his idea. However, the Illuminati had learned its lesson. It must control the justices so that the high court would be marching in step with the executive and congressional branches. Since Supreme Court justices served for life, this change to an Illuminist court took time. However, by the time Illuminist presidents Truman and Eisenhower had served their terms, enough changes had occurred through death that the Illuminati ruled the court. They rule it today. And they still rule it. Justice Scalia, he came out about concentration camps on American soil. So what'd they do? They took him out. Yes, they did. 2016. Illuminati realized that the court system held great potential to create massive paradigm shifts in attitudes through its ability to create new laws simply by edict. Since everyone knew that court justices held their position for life, anger against any particular decision was much more muted than against the Congress or the president. People knew they elected presidents and congressmen, so they were much more apt to spring in action against these officials than they were against the justices. Tremendous changes have occurred as a result of court rulings generally, Supreme Court rulings specifically. Let us list 3 of the terrible decisions that have so changed the values and attitudes of Americans that today we stand ready to enter the satanic New World Order. Abington School District versus Shemp. Prohibition of First Amendment against enacted by Congress of any law. Respecting the establishment of religion, which this allowed for the schools to throw God's word out of throw God's word out of the public school system. We all know about Roe v. Wade. That's terrible. How many babies have been murdered And that's what it is. So don't even get it twisted. Don't even come up on here telling me about nothing. Threw God's word out of public schools, legalized abortion, and set the stage for abortion on demand, resulting in 42 million. There's more now. It's like 60 million. Legalized sodomy, thus completing our national rebellion against God. And they wonder why we're on so much, like, under the harsh judgments that we are under today. And oh, you wait till the war is physically created. You wait till the war comes home. The chickens are coming home to roost. Okay, let's see. And this is just, have you accepted Christ? We should pray every single day. And that reminds me that we need to do our prayer here, because I really have to go in, and we're an hour and 5 minutes in. I did not want to spend this much time on it, though I'm happy that I did, because this is good stuff. And we'll continue part 3 after I do the freedom promoting. So let's pray. Get back to the top here. Look at all that we went through. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.